I'm Stephan Fidock, and my drums are called Fidock Handcrafted Drums. I make drums out of blackwood. Between the tree and these drums here, there's the guy who chops it, it comes to me, and it ends up here. Blackwood is a tonal timber. Unlike other hardwoods, it has a grain, a varied density of grain. That means that some of the grain is open, more open than in other parts of the timber. This is what provides the warmth and the tone of the timber that I use on these drums. All the wood that's cut for me comes from the base of the blackwood tree. The guy who sells it to me sells to 2 other people only. None of it goes to furniture. All this timber is cut for musical instruments. The drums I make are solid timber stave, and starting this year, all the drum sets that I'll be making will be reconstructed trees. That means that the drum set that you buy is a tree that's been cut up into something with which we can fashion a drum set. That drum set grew up together as a tree. In my range of snare drums, I've got a standard range, and then on my website you'll see that there's limited and single edition. Limited just simply means that the amount of timber that I'm working with is limited. So that will limit the number of drums that I can use with that particular type, that particular amount of wood. This one here is in a limited edition. This is a 13x6 Blackwood snare drum. I've got it here on show, but I made it for a client of mine in France. I've only made one, and I'm not sure whether I'll make any more of those. This here is my 14x6.5 snare drum, solid timber steam bent hoops, stave shell, French polish. The inner shell is 6mm, it's extremely light. This comes in, I forget what the weight was on this one. Trick, multi-step throw off, Remo heads. This is a serious snare drum ready to go for any occasion. Over here, this is the legendary Fat Boy snare drum. But in this case, I used some figured Myrtle wood. Myrtle is another tonal timber. A violin maker put me onto this. He said, "You should have a go at this timber, Steph. It makes pretty good sounding stuff." And he was dead right. It's a great sounding drum. This is going to a client in Canada. And this is the only one, actually. I only had enough timber to make one Fat Boy, enough figured Myrtle to make one Fat Boy. So we won't be seeing this one again. Over here, this is compression timber. This is Fiddleback Blackwood. Fiddleback is the term to describe what happens to the compression of the fibers here, which results in these stripy lines that we see. What this is a tree that carries too much weight, and the weight of all that wood, as you can see, crumples up the tree as it's growing, which results in what looks like these deformities. However, what's unusual about this timber, apart from the figuring, is the fact that the grain is very straight. And as you can see, all my drums, the grain runs vertical. Unlike ply, where the grain runs horizontally, all my drums, which are all stave, the grain is dead straight and it runs vertical. And if you have a close look there, Nikolai, you'll see what I'm talking about when I talk about the porousness of the timber. You can see here that the grain is much more open than over here, for instance, where the fibers are very tight together. These patches of open grain is what allows even a very dense timber, a hard timber like Blackwood, to carry a bit of warmth within it. It's got real warmth and real note to it, and I believe that that's the reason why. Some of the grain is actually quite open. It varies in density. It gives the timber a lot of character. And when I say character, of course, I'm talking about the acoustic properties. This one here is in my standard range Fat Boy. It's a straight grain Blackwood, a French polished finish, solid timber steam bend hoops, trick throw off, 20 strand wires. All these drums are entirely handmade. Okay, we need machines to slice the wood and buzz it down. After that, all the sanding that's done, I do it by hand. I do the finish by hand. That's a traditional French polish. This is Blackwood. This is another 13x6 snare drum, but this one's made out of Myrtle. It's a companion to this guy over here. Again, it's a French polish. Again, it's tonal timber. Again, it's got the steam bend solid timber hoops. Over here, there's another standard range 14x6.5 snare drum. This is straight grain timber. All the timber is selected by me. I listen to it before I use it to make a drum out of. Steam bend hoops, French polish. This is a 14x6.5 Australian Myrtle snare drum. I made 4 of those, and you won't see these again because that's all the timber I had. It allowed me to make 4 of these snare drums in 14x6.5, one 13x6. This is a different variety of Myrtle. This is figured Myrtle, which even in Australia is extremely rare. Over here, the drum set that we've been using to do the show, this is a forerunner of some of the kits I'll be doing this year. The Fat Boy, the Rack Tom, and the Floor Tom all come from the same tree. These drums grew up together as a tree. Thank you very much for checking out Fidock drums. I hope to hear from you soon. Go to my website, www.vintageandrare.comNAMM. Keep in touch. Thanks for your time.